Well, more of an update. Page, I don't know if I showed you page 17 with the words, but this is page 17 with the words. You know, Hughes found defeat with knowledge. As you can see, he's like, I almost had you, old man. And then he said, almost ain't it, my dear boy. Maybe next time. And then they go off into page 18, where like you saw, but without the words, but this is with the words. And it says, well, my dear boy, it's time. He was dusting himself off. And right here it says, he looks at him, he says, gather your things, we need to head to the market. And then, he does the in-between as he goes inside, gets his stuff, comes outside. They're walking through the forest, whatever the case may be. And then he's asking knowledge. He's like, oh, man, hey, old man, what's at the market that we need to, I forgot to put the two, but I can still edit that out, to head there. And then in 19, he starts explaining to him what it is. So just to give you some dialect, right? This is the dialect for it. So if you can remember that, what I just showed you, right? I'm going back, right? Nope, gotta go here. The dialect, I almost had you, blah, blah, and blah, blah, all the words, whatever it is. In the market, he unites, hey, blase, 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 and then he says, hey, old man, or whatever. Knowledge says, my dear boy, we are heading to the market to get the answers you seek. However, before the market, we might have to make a detour. And that's what he's telling him. That's this situation here. He's telling him. And then he's talking more about it, this, that, and the third, what's going on. And then in 20, he says you're more confusing than a Jindu. And then knowledge looks at him and says, precisely, my dear boy. And then Hugh starts laughing, and then he says, how sturdy is this bridge? After knowledge just says what he says, he breaks down more stuff to him with the dialect that they're having. So it says, why the detour? Is something wrong? Knowledge says, I believe in it. I believe it's in the cards for our detour, my dear boy. I do believe there's something there we may require to aid us at the market. Hugh, knowledge, you have more riddles than a jar of Jindu. And then, knowledge says, precisely, dear boy. Hugh starts to laugh. And that's what you just saw. And then knowledge says, nothing for you to worry about, my dear boy. You really are lucky I'm here. And then, there's the cave, etc., etc. So they stop. And that's when he says, there's the cave. And then Hugh says to him, when they reach that point, he says, you make it seem so easy and simple. And Knowledge says, that's because it is, my dear boy. So let's keep moving. And after that, that's when they start to cross the bridge, right? So that's 21. He said there's a cave, and that's what he said. Then they're crossing the bridge, and then there's more exchanging. But as you can see, the next pages that I'm working on are, 19 and 20. I know it's taken me a while. I've been working a lot and then doing whatever I had to do. But yeah, this is like the next thing. They're having the more casual conversation before they get to the dragon and fight the dragon. Because at the end of this issue is the introduction to the dragon outside of the cave, when they get into the cave to fight the dragon. And there's a surprise for Hugh inside the cave after he defeats the dragon with knowledge, which is issue 2. So stay tuned for the rest of the setup of the drawing of these pages for the issue 1 and the inking, and then the coloring of issue 1. I think for issue 1, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go live for the coloring of each page. It's going to take me a while to do it, but I hope you enjoy the journey, because I damn sure am. But yeah, after all of this is drawn and inked, everything else, I'm going to do the live with all the coloring of the pages. So stay tuned. Thank you.